Mayor, it's 7:30.
Okay, I think we have everyone
Okay.
except for Jen on, unless I'm mistaken.
I think you're correct.
Okay,
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Village of Northfield regular council meeting of October 14th. Can you roll call, please?
Mayor Niehaus,
Here.
Mr. Magistrelli,
Here.
Mr. Zur,
Here.
Ms. Domzowski, Mr. Hips,
Here.
Ms. Noack,
Here.
Mr. Voitush,
Here.
Mr. Bryan,
here,
Mr. Wazowski, Chief Zolgis, Chief Buss,
Here.
Mr. Walters, and I am here.
At this time, can we get the approval of the minutes of September 23rd?
So moved.
Second.
motion by Mr. Hips, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli. Any amendments? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Noack,
Abstain.
Mr. Voitich,
Yes.
Mr. Magistrelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hips.
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Moving on to the reports of municipal officers, the mayor at this time does not have a report. Moving on to Mrs. Potvin, Director of Finance.
I have no report this evening. No report.
We'll be at our next meeting. Mr. Wasowski will be at our next regular scheduled council meeting. Mr. Bryan.
Thanks, Mayor. Couple things. For Rich sent out information to everyone about the Tinkers Creek Partnership, which we've been a member for the past several years. We pay $1,000 a year. I guess the benefit we get, they help out with the rain barrel workshops. They also do some of the stormwater compliance information distribution. That usually gets covered by an agreement they have or arrangement with the Northeast Ohio Sewer District that ends up reimbursing either us or Tinkers Creek for what we have to pay for that. So I guess we need some direction from council, whether we want to continue to be a member of the Tinkers Creek Partnership and whether we want to send a letter of support to Tinkers Creek to send to the Northeast Ohio Sewer District to continue their program. So I would recommend it, and I don't know if council has any preference or objection. It's something within the mayor's spending authority, so we don't need a formal vote, but if anyone wants to discuss it or raise any objection to it, let us know and we can continue to talk about it.
I'm for it.
Okay, sounds good. Unless anyone else has anything. We have the.
I'm also for it. I'm for it.
Okay, great, Keith. We have the September 2020 Mayor's Court monthly distribution report for acceptance. Total to be dispersed, $7,688. Total due to the state, $700. Nothing to Stowe Municipal Court. $18 to the City of Stowe. $250 for restitution. $6,711 to the village. If I can have a motion for acceptance.
I make a motion.
Second.
I'll
Motion
second.
by Ms. Noack, seconded by Mr. Magistrelli. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Noack,
Yes.
Voitich,
Yes.
Mr. Magistrelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hips.
Yes.
Right, motion's approved. And then the only thing I have is the Boost Electric Boulevard property donation should close tomorrow. Mayor signed all the closing documents today, and we paid our share of the closing costs. So as everyone, I believe, knows, the property right on Electric to the right, if you're looking at the Pitlock Preserve, has been donated to the village to add to the green space in that area. So tomorrow
that
the
closing-
village will own that property. Excuse me?
And the closing costs were, Brad, just so council knows?
A little less than $1,300, I think. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to department heads. Police Chief John Zolgis, I believe, is not with us at this meeting. Be at our next meeting. Fire Chief Jason Buss.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Email my report out to everyone. Just a couple things to go over. I talked to Renell briefly. My committee for the replacement fire engine, they've been working through the summer, and they've got a lot of the information together, and they'd like to present at a fire and safety meeting, just to go over what they found, what they'd like to see, and actually have a representative from Pierce Manufacturing there to answer questions about how financing, how long it takes to build the truck and all that. So we have a couple dates, possibly do a fire and safety meeting. I would think probably 30 to 45 minutes would be needed to get through it. Plus whatever time you would want for questions. So I don't know, Renell, if you want to ask that during your portion of the meeting or.
Yeah, Chief, I'll go ahead and discuss that at my portion because I want to cover the police as well. Thank you.
Okay. As far as COVID-19 goes, in Summit County, the numbers are coming down. Unfortunately, I do have 2 firefighters on leave right now that are COVID positive. They're both doing well, but they are restricted from duty. The earliest one can come back is the 16th, and the other one is on the 19th. I have to follow up with them. Doing okay. A new storm warning siren has been delivered. It's in the back parking lot of the fire station. I'm working with service to electrical done with our electrician, and there's still statistics of arranging the telephone, getting that installed with the company. So all the equipment is here, so it's just a matter of getting everything lined up and installed. And the last item I had to talk about tonight, actually I got 2 more items. Quickly, flu shots are being offered to all the village employees on October 19th. All day, Captain Zemek will be around. Reached out to the service department and the police department. If any of council or the office staff is interested in it, they'll be able to go to the fire station that day or contact Joe, and he will be able to get those shots. University Hospitals is providing them, and I don't believe there's going to be any charge to any of our employees for the communities here. So
What day did you say that was, Chief?
next Monday, the 19th.
19th.
Joe works a 24-hour shift that day. So he's pretty much around all day for that. And there may be a backup on the Thursday in case you can't make that Monday. So we are
Okay.
putting that together. So if you need them, just get a hold of me or Joe, or that Monday show up at the fire station and he'll have the paperwork to do to get that covered. And then the last item I have, I've been working with the finance director, Ms. Potvin, going over some different equipment costs and purchases as it relates to COVID funding that we've got in. Tonight, I believe she had on the agenda 3 items we had discussed. One of them was a loose hands-free CPR machine to make sure every one of our ambulances had one. There's a disinfection machine called an ambustat, kind of fogs the room. It sits in the room and cleans anything. We would also use that in an ambulance after we transported the patient. And then there's some equipment called the video laryngoscope, which is basically when we have to put a tube down someone's throat, cardiac arrest, or during a breathing issue. It gets the paramedic away from being directly over the patient and kind of reduce the risk of being exposed to droplets. So those are 3 items we identified early on that we'd like to get. And again, talking to Ms. Potvin in the recent days, there are some other areas of possible equipment and items we may be able to purchase with the COVID-19 funding we've been getting in. One of them items is I've replaced a lot of the turnout gear already. I have 5 members who don't have it. If I was to replace that gear now, most of the firemen for about the next year would have 2 sets of turnout gear. So should get their gear contaminated, they'd have a backup set to go into. This is an item that has been approved in other areas under COVID funding. So I'm looking to possibly go ahead and do that. Washers and dryers, that could be used down the road after the fire station remodel. We could also use those down at the fire station. I looked at replacing all of the flushers and sinks at the fire station to automatic ones. So everything would be hands-free there and getting that equipment through BEI. I ordered several hands-free Purell sanitizer sensors that I'm going to drop off and get installed at City Hall, Service Department, so we can have those available to all the employees. So those are a couple of the items we've been discussing. There's some IT upgrades that we might benefit from. But if there's any other ideas or comments, thoughts, I mean, Ms. Potvin know of things that might be useful. And the way it's been discussed with me is we can look at items that weren't in our normal budget this year, but because of COVID, can help protect our staff or our residents. You can look at ordering it. So when we look at like the gear, I wasn't going to order that this year, but because of COVID, it would benefit us to have each guy have an extra set in case their front gear got contaminated. They would have a reserve set to get into. So kind of the mindset we've been looking at. A bunch of stuff out at you, so if you have any questions.
I guess,
go ahead.
Jason and Jennifer, what is the timing of needing to approve these things?
I believe it. Go ahead, Jennifer.
We want to have all of these things incurred, preferably in-house, but we can certainly have them ordered, have a purchase order issued by 12/31, so end of the year.
Okay. Is there anything we want to approve tonight specifically?
Just the hands-free compression device.
Okay, and I have a price on that of $14,881.40. So not to exceed 15,000. Was that?
Do we have those on the other squads, Chief?
Yeah, Mr. Voitosh, we have 2 that we got back in, I want to say it was 2014 or 2015. I think they're Lucas 2s. Okay. And so the new one would go to our frontline squad and we would move the other 2 to the backup squads.
Okay. I'm also, just so you know, I'm in line with everything you said. And I'd like to make a motion to make this purchase.
I second.
Purchase to purchase the hands-free chest compression device out of the funds in an amount not to exceed $15,000. Do you know who the vendor is?
Stryker Medical Equipment.
Okay, from Stryker Medical Equipment. So you're making the motion, Mr. Voitich?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Nowak. Any other questions? Mr. Scher?
Yes.
Ms. Nowak?
Yes.
Mr. Voitush,
Yes.
Mr. Magistrelli, Mr. Magistrelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hips.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And that was the last item I had on my report, unless there was any other questions.
And Jason, the only thing I can think of maybe for the other items, if you can put together a list.
Yes,
just what
I'll
they
put
are, the cost and vendor, and we can.
I'll put together an itemized list. I'll probably work on that this week going into next week. And I'll probably email that out to everyone so they can see the cost, vendor. And my goal would be to have everything delivered and in-house by the end of the year. I think talking to Ms. Poppin, that would make it the best situation. But of course, there could be delays. A lot of people are looking at these type of items right now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving on to Service Building Superintendent Jason Walters, who is not with us today. He'll be at our next regular council meeting. Moving on to reports of the municipal boards and commissions. Mr. Hips of Planning Commission.
No report this evening.
Recreation Board did not meet because I had a serious issue in the family with my father, so we did not have that meeting. I would like to reschedule, but I'm not sure what date everyone else could reschedule by. If I get a date from everyone on the board, I will then email all the council so they know when that meeting will be. Cemetery Board still has not met. Reports of the standing committees. Mr. Magistrelli of Finance.
No report.
Roads and Public Works. Mrs. Domzalski is not present. Does anyone from that committee have anything for us tonight?
No.
Hearing none, moving on. Health and Welfare, Mr. Scher.
No report this evening.
Wages and Working Conditions, Mr. Voitush.
The only thing I would have, Mayor, is I wanted to verify that the freeze for hiring has been lifted for us for the village. And then Renell will finish the rest of this.
Yes,
Okay.
it has been lifted, yes.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome, Gary. Fire and Safety, Mrs. Nowak.
All right, first off, in speaking to Chief Zolgis today, he wants to apologize for a lot of the misspelling. I had a discussion with him. He says that he had the spell check going and he's going to check that out tomorrow. So he wanted to apologize for the way his report came over. And also speaking to him as well as Chief Buss, the committee, they are requesting for the committee to get together. As you know, what Chief Buss would like to discuss is for the fire engine. Chief Zolgis would like to discuss bringing on 2 full-time employees, as well as in prior minutes, or notations, there has been a discussion where we need to start getting together to make building plans for the police department. In speaking to Chief Buss, we were looking at specific dates. I really think, and Gary and Nick, if you can confirm, our next meeting is the 28th. If we could meet an hour beforehand, because.
That would be fine by me.
Excuse me?
That would be okay with me.
And what about you, Nick? Nick?
That'll be fine.
So we're saying to get together at 6:30. Now, my question, Brad, is would we just send the invite out to everybody and just make a notation for the committee so that Chief Zolgis and Chief Buss get their people together and it would be included on our regular session here, just starting an hour earlier?
Yeah, I will get a notice out of the Fire and Safety Committee meeting. But if you want to just contact everyone involved, it's not here tonight, but that'd be great. Or if you want me to, I can do it too.
I'm just trying to find out if we're going to be using this what we're currently using right now for the
Yeah,
meeting?
yes, if that's what you want to do, we can do that, and we can make arrangements with Jay to make
I
sure.
would like that. Does everybody else in favor of that?
Yeah, hey, Brad, could you make sure, did I get it's going to be next week. Did we just punch in the same numbers for the meeting? Is
Yes.
that how we're going to do it then?
If there's anything different, I will let everyone know, but I think it would be easiest just to have the same number and.
Okay, all right.
So Chief Bus, that will be working for you then? We'll do it the 28th, an hour before the council meeting, and you can go ahead and get a hold of your people that want to be involved?
Yeah, that'll work.
Great. That concludes
Ms.
my,
Nowak,
And Renell, just to clarify, then we'll have fire department go first and then police
yes,
second?
we'll have the fire department go first.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Ms. Nowak, I have a question.
Yes.
So this is a combined wages and working / fire and safety?
I
I guess so.
It could be.
Gary, who else is on your committee?
Quite honestly, I don't have the list in front of me right now.
Okay.
But I do know that we have talked about and we have put in the budget for the 2 part-time police officers to be brought in full-time, and I'm 100% behind that. And I would like to just go forward with that, and we wouldn't even have to worry about that at the meeting.
Okay,
I mean,
so
Brad, can we bring in legislation to do that? Because we were talking about that before.
Yes, we can. The only question, and I talked to Chief Zolgis about this, is the timing of it, when we want to make it effective.
Okay.
So if I can bring it, if you guys are fine with talking to the chief and the mayor and between Jennifer, working that out with them as a start date that works, we can do that. If you guys want input into that, let me know.
Okay.
And we have to discuss.
Well, personally, I talked to the chief earlier today, and he had informed me that the mayor and Jennifer both were on board with it, and they were okay with it. And quite honestly, I'm okay with it too. I'd like to get it going and get them where they need to be.
okay, so then what I will do is I will reach out to Chief Zolgis and confirm the date that he wants to go into effect on this, and I'll get with the mayor and Jennifer, and we could go ahead and you, Brad, and let you know when we could go ahead and put that into legislation. So then the
Okay.
meeting would just cover what Chief Bus wants to do, which is the fire engine, and Chief Zolgis would be the plans for the new police department.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
Hi, guys. You don't even want to know. I'm good. Sorry.
Yeah, just reflect. Jen is now at the meeting at 7:51. She joined.
Okay, we're moving on to Buildings and Grounds Committee. Mr. Hips,
No report this evening.
we have no legislation tonight. Is there any old, new business or announcements?
I would just like to thank everybody that reached out to me while I was in the hospital and helping me during this time right now. It's very greatly appreciated.
Keep it up.
And anyone else?
Hey,
Hearing none,
remember what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Where are we at with? I don't mean to, but where are we at with the playgrounds? I know we had a grant that our engineer had solicited for, and where are we at with that? Are we got for Smith Park? Is there what are we doing about that as far as
the grant program got canceled by the state. They deferred it to next year. So
okay.
they canceled the program. So we can look into applying again next year, and that's something that'll have to be talked, in the budget talks for next year to see what you guys can and want to do.
Okay, that's all I was wondering about then. All right, I appreciate that.
Do I hear an adjournment?
Jen, you might as well do it.
Came for. I'd like to. I'm so sorry.
Is there a second?
Jen, just be part of the meeting, okay? Just adjourn it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, but who's it? Mr. Vojtich? I didn't hear. Mr. Hips? Who is it?
Mr. Hips.
Okay, Mr. Hips. Mr. Scher,
Yes.
Ms. Noack,
Yes.
Mr. Vojtich,
Yes.
Mr. Magistrelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hips,
Yes.
Ms. Domzalski,
Okay.
you're okay to adjourn? All right, we are adjourned at 7:55.
You guys.
Jen, see you next time.
Okay, okay.
What the heck happened, Jen?
At 7:09, I said, oh, I've got a meeting. I have to watch my time. My husband was like, oh, you've got a little bit still. He and Brooklyn left to go to basketball practice.